Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Wrath of the Righteous, with me, Break It Down. Let's continue through the World Wound. And we'll start south and work our way north towards Leper's Smile. Alright, the Primitive Altar. An ugly structure crudely constructed out of branches, rocks, and bones stands here. Beneath it rest offerings to some unknown deity, or more likely demon. You can procure some reagents for creating consumable items here. A Reliable Redoubt. A military outpost built along the walls of the canyons that riddle the World Wound. The army who erected it clearly believed that the place offered some safety.
My skills are absolute.
I will help where I can.
I am never wrong.
Unimosi travisi. Unimosi travisi. My will is overrun. Adayana. Unimosi travisi. Patricium Turinos. Gratior. Stationi Savitur.
I'm here. Where else would I be?
Whatever goes next,
Always be ready.
we'll
for
be
the
ready.
worst.
I'm gone.
I should be ready to rock and roll. Commander, come here quickly. In the mountain, you see a raided camp and two groups of warriors, one wearing white and yellow armor, the other in black. They're led by a tall man in white priest robes. Some of the warriors glance around fretfully, weapons shaking in their hands. You hear the screams of gargoyles from above. The beasts are approaching the camp.
Quickly, evacuate the wounded. The beasts are about to strike again. Use cloaks as stretchers. We've got to make it through. Paralictor, your people will have to cover us while...
2 more minutes left out in the open, and neither you nor I will have any troops left to order about, Crusader.
But the wounded...
Problem solved. Retreat to shelter.
The one called Paralictor makes a barely noticeable gesture, and the swords of his troops execute the wounded. The man in white has anything further to add. His words are drowned out by the shrieks of gargoyles as they fall from the sky. Paralictor will lead the unit to shelter. We need to get through to them. Looks like the Hellknight continued to fight the Gargoyle even from the air. They both fell to the rocks and perished.
They will break against
Cover me,
our
all right?
resolve.
Did you see that? You've crossed the wrong mongrel. Your performance is lacking. You are lacking.
They'd better start running.
A bright future awaits us.
The goddess protects us.
I'm this spell works.
Don't hold
differently.
back! Me?
I ever see Sarkoris Green again?
Huh, wonder why I can't charge.
They don't know how fragile they are.
Can we retreat already?
You won't survive me.
Strike!
Now, we have to be careful about chasing enemies like that because there are more ambushes.
Follow if you dare.
Oh, we got the Bastard Sword of Hope. Whenever the wielder of this +3 Mithril Bastard Sword confirms a critical hit with it, it restores 1d8 plus 5 hit points to the wielder. It can be wielded only by lawful good, lawful neutral, or neutral good characters.
I'm off.
The sight before you is at once macabre and picturesque. A lifeless couple, a man and a woman dressed in white and yellow priest robes, lie on the ground surrounded by the bodies of dead gargoyles. They are tangled in death. The claws of the monsters are tearing at the human's clothes, and the largest gargoyle's talon has pierced the man's chest and punctured his heart. But before they died, he or his companion defeated the enemy. Suddenly, the woman opens her eyes. She doesn't look at you, but stares up at the world wound's horrific sky. Her pale lips open and she exhales abruptly. The sun will never rise again. There's only darkness above me. Even the sky here is cursed, and we along with it. Jaeger, walking in the front, steps over the man's body without looking, but turns around at the sound of the woman's voice. Vandevian faith will break too easily. Kill the woman. You need help. You'll feel better now. The woman pushes you away with a weak gesture. Expend your efforts on someone who can be helped. Leave me. My crusade is over. Who are you? What happened here? I'm a priestess of ardent Sarenrae from the Order of the Sunrise Sword. Next to me is Ashes Strieger, head of our order. Sorrowful pride sounds in the woman's voice. He has led our forces on raids to the Worldwound many times, but this campaign... The gargoyles attacked a few nights ago. A vast number. We've never seen anything like it. Ashes organized our resistance with great skill. While the monsters were distracting our fighters, a small group of them raided the camp and took our supplies. We're left without food and water in the middle of the Worldwound, where it's nearly impossible to find provisions. We shared the last crumbs of our supplies and set off back the way we came. Everyone was suffering from hunger and thirst. We grew weak and could barely fight back when the gargoyles struck a second time. They snatched many of us away. I saw the pain on Ashes' face as he counted the losses. He managed to rally us. We continued our trek, and soon came across traces of a recent battle. Someone had destroyed a troop of demon worshippers. In our desperation, we decided to follow the strangers, warn them of the gargoyles, and seek their help, having no idea that they were Hellknights. But we received only scorn. Every gulp of water in my unit is accounted for, they said. They spared us 2 flasks and a sack of dried bread. They said we were allowed to keep the sack to use as bandages. 2 flasks between all of us. A sack for bandages. Hellknights. Tila curls her fists, almost grunting through her clenched teeth. I'd rather ally with the flesh-eating poisonous wyvern. Don't expect any goodness from those black tin cans. If you meet them, count yourself lucky if you don't end up nailed to the nearest fence post. The leader has to take care of their own tribe first. All the scandalized gasps. How could he do such a thing? Suddenly fall away when you're the first faced with the hard choice. Are you going to take food out of your own child's mouth to feed a starving stranger? Life can be cruel. In times of war or famine, folk are sometimes forced to make ugly choices like that. Because if they don't, it'll cause even more death. But there's this one thing I've noticed. Oberg glares at Jaeger. Some chieftains loathe making decisions like that. After they do it, they drink and blame themselves, even though they know they did the right thing. Other ones, however, are all too happy to make them. They even boast about it afterward. Look at me, my heart of stone and my head of iron. What happened after that? The gargoyles attacked. Despite how the Hell Knight Paralictor had treated us, Ashes endeavored to help them, and had us carry their wounded. but that monster had them slaughtered. Ashes was beside himself. It's difficult to conceive of such evil. He told our people to go with the Hellknights to find shelter, while he stayed to cover our retreat. Woman exhaled softly. He was a strong cleric. As he treated our wounded, he neglected himself, and he paid for it. With terrible injustice, but alas, all too common. Those who care for others often perish first. Your commander can't be helped, but you're still alive. Allow me to help you, and come with us. The woman looks at you wistfully. Why? So many deaths, so many sacrifices, such bravery, all for what? No, I will not go with you, stranger. My commander and I will die by what we live for, compassion and nobility. I don't want to keep fighting for a world that bows to such laws. May the goddess forgive me. Farewell. The woman closes her eyes, exhausted. Yeager shakes his head. Commander, I'm not one to advise you. You're wasting time on this fool, and the gargoyles will soon be back. That's our usual tactics. Fly up, regroup, attack again. I'm going back to my unit now, and I advise you not to stay here long either.
Do not fear! Do not waver!
Even after the attack, the tents at the Hellknight camp are lined up neatly, looking like they're ready for a parade.
The light take you!
Reposition everybody else.
Begone, fiend!
Distract them for me. Time to share your treasures!
Into the fray! The inheritor, guide my blade! The light
Endure
take
this.
you! Into the fray!
Clawing time.
Fall!
The inheritor, guide my blade!
Let me help.
And a ton of miscellaneous loot.
This is my kind of work.
On Muscle Warmer. Forgot you found that here. This +2 hide barding grants its wearer cold resistance 10 and a +2 competence bonus on saving throws against movement impairing effects. Cold damage doesn't come up very often. I remember at least one fight where the enemy will cast Polar Midnight. And then one of the DLC adds an area that has a lot of cold damage.
I do what I must.
But thinking back through, I don't think there's anywhere else where it pops up. Unless... well, there's a piece of armor that does cold damage every round. To everyone around it, including allies. So it could be good
I'm gone.
using synchronization with that.
I learned this from my grandpa.
Demonic energy has polluted the earth, creating tumors filled with poison.
We do it my way.
It might be worth resting and reapply my buffs here. They may expire shortly.
What's the alcohol situation underground? Do you have anything to drown your sorrows in?
You bet. Mold brew is a gourmet's dream. And tourists from Absalom used to come to us for our mushroom infusion.
After packing up his belongings after the night's camping, Celsius finds a place to sit, then pulls out a travel sketchbook and a charcoal pencil. Stanley glances in your direction. He draws on the small page with bold, sprawling strokes, his expression shifting between smiling and frowning. May I see? The clerk closes his eyes in embarrassment. There's nothing to look at yet. This isn't even a draft. More a series of random sketches. The slip of your neck, the curve of your lips, your gestures. It's not much to look at, but it will be useful if I start working on a real portrait. You're always sketching. Why? The world around us is so unstable, especially now during this war. A friend's smile, the curve of a tree, the glow of a fire. If we do not preserve them, the rare moments of beauty we still have will be lost in the flow of time. Don't you trust your own eyes and memory? And you do trust them. Memory is deceptive. Try to remember something after a year, maybe even after a day, and what you'll recall will differ dramatically from what you saw in the moment. But it's not just a matter of memory. Lost in thought, the clerk fiddles with his pencil. You can't see the full picture with your eyes alone. Drawing allows me to see things from a different angle. Sometimes I will find new meaning, even in the most mundane things. Are you going to paint my portrait? Yes, but not just yours. I draw everything I see. Our companions, our soldiers, sometimes even our enemies. The places we visit, my dreams, my thoughts. Every aspect of this crazy war. I want to capture everything that happens here, both the beautiful and nightmarish. But sometimes I draw you too. You're a puzzle yet to be solved. A miracle that came from nowhere and turned the tide of this hopeless war. Who is the commander of the Fifth Crusade? Who is he truly? It's difficult to see the truth in a single glance, but perhaps I'll better understand you after I capture your image on paper. Well, I won't bother you anymore. Celcio smiles, nods, and gets back to his work.
We should move.
Unimosi travisi. Unimosi travisi.
Together, we stand.
Search for the beauty with your heart, not your eyes.
Adayana. Unimosi travisi.
Patritium Turino. Amrata gratior. Stationi savitur.
My tail is restless.
Follow if you dare.
Knight Commander, I presume. Your glory precedes you. I am Regill de Renge, Paralictor of the Order of the God Claw, and temporary officer of the joint unit of Hellknights and the Order of the Sunrise Sword. You and your people should take positions. The Gargoyles are regrouping. We expect they will attempt to break through in 5 to 6 minutes.
The moment you step across the threshold, you're targeted with pale yellow eyes. A gnome with considerable gray in his hair, dressed in black armor, lowers his head slightly.
Would you look at their get-up, head to toe in black? You can tell right away that lot means business. How can they move in all that armor, I wonder? Those spikes must catch on everything, eh? And answering the call of nature, that'd put the fear in you. One slip and you've killed it yourself.
I've never brought Oberg to this encounter. He does not acknowledge Oberg's wit with so much as a glance. A joint unit.
Forcibly joined. The leader of the Order of the Sunrise Sword was unable to get to safety, which is not surprising, considering his, shall we say, excessive scrupulousness and sluggishness. Given the extreme situation, I took command of his people.
Regill speaks. They just be Regill speaks with military precision and economy.
Just great. Paladins and Hellknights all in the one troop. It's like catching the plague and the pox at the same time.
Hey, you got 2 paladins in your party too, buddy.
It's supposed to be good when different people unite. We're here for a common cause. But it still gives me the creeps for some reason. Hellknights shouldn't be allowed to get their claws into our paladins. It's wrong.
I saw you ordered your own wounded to be finished off.
Indeed. The Gargoyles were clearly trying to capture as many prisoners as they could. I don't know the reason behind these abductions, but I'm not about to give the enemy what they want. That is why all my people were ordered not to be taken alive. And as for the wounded, we didn't have time to get them to safety anyway.
Regill's answer is dry, almost disinterested. I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Can you hear yourself? For the sake of principle, in order not to give the enemy what they want, you killed your own wounded. Helpless subordinates. Why does anyone still follow you?
Because we are Hellknights. We know our duty.
Only someone who's never been responsible for the lives of others could feel any outrage at this decision. The wounded couldn't be saved. What good would it do to anyone if the rest perished along with them?
So, Regill is right in this case, for a couple of reasons, but the game does tend to make Regill right in most cases. I think there's one situation where he is wrong later on in one of the DLC. But that's all I can think of. They probably added that because of the complaints about Regill always being right.
Paladins don't trade in lives. They strive to save everyone.
You're right, they don't. They give lives away for absolutely nothing.
You really give just 2 flasks of water to the Knights of the Sunrise Sword suffering from thirst, and a sack to use as bandages. Standing behind his commander, Yeager rolls his eyes.
I spared them the exact volume of resources I could sacrifice without risking my own people. However, the situation has developed, and I've already ordered they be given additional supplies. They are temporarily under my charge, and I can use their forces to rebuff the attack. They'll work for their water.
Regill raises his voice and speaks emphatically, ignoring a whisper coming from a group of Knights of the Sunrise Sword. He seems to be reiterating his position for their benefit. In a place like the World Wound, we all need to stick together, even if that means sacrificing something for a comrade.
Noble Ashes and his Sunrise Swords have already done so. And this is what it led to.
That's right. The chief is responsible for his own tribe. If he decides that he's responsible for the whole world, his own people will come to ruin. And if he wishes that someone else was responsible for his people, that means he's not fit to be chief.
Regill's harsh words cause a whisper among the Knights in white and yellow. You won't get away with this.
We can discuss our differences as soon as the Gargoyle problem has been resolved. Speaking of which, here they are.
Yet another obstacle.
Get him, Sunshine.
Cover me, all right?
Oh, go ahead and scoot back here.
Make every strike count.
And then Olbrig, I'd like to turn into a griffin.
Stab you or zap you? Why not both? Distract them for me.
This spell works differently.
Time to share your treasures.
You should have run!
Cover me, all right?
Owned! This will hurt! Don't hold back! You are nothing before me.
This fight's a little easier. You have haste. Which one I have available right now? Let's try and heal Ulfric.
Still got it. Strike! Mere flesh wound.
So we just feared all of these guys. Well, most of them.
You should have run!
You missed the wrong mongrel.
This will hurt!
Stab you or zap you. Why not
Into
both?
the fray!
A mere flesh wound. Could this happen? I still got it.
The Inheritor, guide my blade!
If I survive this, it's make for a good story.
Alright, well, we're still alive.
Distract
But not for
them
much
from me.
longer, though. Or for how much longer? I don't know why I said it the way I did.
A mere flesh wound.
You won't survive me.
Oh, we did lose Ulfric, but we can get him back later. Just gotta get through this fight first.
Endure this! Make every strike count.
I still got it. Don't hold back!
No glory without risk! The light, take you!
Still fight.
Time to share your treasures!
I need your assistance.
You've crossed the wrong mongrel.
Strike!
I can still fight.
You should have run!
We did it! I don't have any raised dead scrolls, do I? Not on hand. I'll give this a social. And for mobility, we have...
Something wrong?
The world has suffered enough.
Just
I
don't
need
blame
your
me.
assistance.
I got a little roughed up. Little Dark Souls Easter egg here. We're still alive. Praise be Sarenrae. Or praise the sun. The skeleton of a man wearing armor from the time of the First Crusade. It's holding the skeleton of a child with strange proportions and animal paws instead of its right arm and leg. Huh, that sounds familiar, right? And a ring of protection +2. Regill gracefully stows his weapon and places his hands behind his back. You two, check the area. Mark any potential shelters that offer protection against aerial attacks. Quartermaster, inventory the remnants of the camp. I want to make sure that the gargoyles only abducted people and weren't interested in anything else. Send messengers immediately to our scout squads and order them to return to camp. I need a full list of the casualties. The sooner the better. He turns to you and nods slightly. Commander, your arrival was well timed. Now we can finally talk. I'm quite interested in the events that occurred at the Great Garrison, and I suppose you have questions for me as well. What do you want to know about what happened at the Great Garrison? Any shift in the balance of power during this war has a direct impact on my mission. If a new player appears who is capable of fighting demons effectively, then I am ready to support that person with all the resources I have at my disposal. Regill speaks pensively, as if talking to himself. But naturally, I cannot blindly trust a stranger, even when marked by the gods. You have every right to doubt. I usually don't trust strangers either. So we understand each other. Thank you, Commander. Regill nods, more to himself than to you. Is there anything you'd like to know before we move on to more serious issues? What if I want to join the ranks of the Hellknights? The requirements for knights and signifiers are common knowledge, and they must certainly be satisfied. If you do that, the orders will consider your request. Any further discussion prior to your completion of the necessary tasks is pointless. Not every fighter or spellcaster is fit to serve with us. What are the Hellknights doing here, within the borders of the World Wound? The same as you and your army, fighting a war against the demons. The Hellknights have always been a part of the Crusades from the very beginning. We don't answer to Queen Galfrey, we act on our own authority, but we serve the common cause. The Skari spawn have no place in the world we want to build. Regill barks out the final words. What does Paralictor mean? I'm the commander of this unit, and in the Order's hierarchy, I'm 2 steps lower than its leader. In the territory of Mendev and the World Wound, there are few who equal my rank, but I'm the most senior Hell Knight officer from many leagues around. So there are a few. We're not done talking about your atrocities. Of course. The Paralictor doesn't seem hurt or surprised. If you wish, I'll explain my position in detail. All the soldiers killed at my order belong to my unit. Therefore, the case is an internal matter for the Order of the Godclaw. You could have sent an appeal to the Order commanders, but the result is inevitable. Not only do the Order's rule and field operation guidelines not prohibit it, they even recommend a policy of death is preferable to captivity. So everything that happened, though it is surely lamentable and has deprived me of a few good fighters, is also a prime example of military necessity. Well, of course, atrocities don't matter if you have a piece of paper that says committing atrocities is allowed. Tell me about it. People can't move these days for little pieces of paper. Find every scrap, there's somebody waiting to throw the whole book at you. You can't go in there, you can't be in here, you can't go into people's houses when they're out of town, you can't sell smokes on the street. Paper pushers everywhere. I cannot influence your internal rules, but I hope you understand where the jurisdiction of your order ends and ours begins. I'm not trying to force our rules on Crusaders, Commander. I hope you won't try to make us disregard ours. The incident is settled. I suppose we can return to relevant matters. What are you going to do now, after the Gargoyle attack? I'll wait for my remaining fighters to return. What you see here is only a small part of my forces. As for my long-term plans, that depends on the results of our conversation, Commander. Regill narrows his eyes. Before we move on to serious subjects, I'd like to address an organizational issue regarding my unit. You may wish to be present. Yeager steps forward and salutes with a clenched fist to his chest. Paralictor, permission to report. During the first Gargoyle attack, I determined it necessary to leave my post. I swam over the river, found the commander's army, and asked them to provide assistance. Regill nods. The reinforcements were much needed. You earn a double salary for your resourcefulness, Yeager, and 100 lashes for abandoning your post. The young knight grows a little pale, but immediately salutes again. Yes, Paralictor. I say nothing. As a lawful character, it's not my right to give orders to his men. It's his unit. Regill, who's watched you closely throughout the entire conversation, nods to himself. Now for a more delicate issue. You, Commander, were interested in our dispute with the Knights of the Order of the Sunrise Sword, correct? Their forces in Canabra suffered great losses in the demon attack, and now their leader has perished and his troops are in trouble. They are reeling with no command structure. Their order will hardly be able to recover from the losses they've suffered. What are you getting at? These fighters aren't the best material I've worked with, but if I assume formal command over them, I'll be able to reforge them into weapons of reasonable quality. One or two might even become true Hellknights. The rest will be put to good use as well. You really think these people will follow you after how you've treated them? Though not the best, they are still warriors and knights. They know what discipline is, and that victory in war doesn't come without cost. Any among them who still haven't realized that aren't worth my time and effort. What does this have to do with me? A spark flashes in Regill's pale yellow eyes. I suppose, Commander, that for leagues around, from Canabras to Dresden, and from Dresden to the cursed city of Eyes at the heart of the world wound, all this pertains to you in one way or another. You're the catalyst that shifted an age-old balance of power, whether you meant to or not. Your own future, and much more, depends on the decisions you make here and now, even the ones that seem insignificant. You've already shown that you will easily sacrifice these people, use them as living shields for your precious knights. I won't let that happen. Let them join my army. At least I don't treat my soldiers as expendables. Well then, we both have arguments to make. Let's see what these orphans say. Regill looks at the warriors in white and yellow, shifting cheerlessly from one foot to the other. Initiates of the Sunrise Sword, your leader is dead. The Order has suffered serious losses, and will not be able to recover. You may return to Mendev to join another Crusader Order, and hope that they don't meet the same fate as the Sunrise Sword. Or, you may remain under my command. I'll not promise that it will be easy, or that our war making will be constricted by your principles. What I can promise is this. Under my command, you will never again feel like helpless mice in the talons of a ravenous raptor. Does that mean we've worked off the precious resources you spent on us? The water, medicine, and bandages, yells one of the knights in white and yellow. I wouldn't make such an offer if I thought you were useless garbage. The initiates of the Sunrise Sword consult with each other for a time, and then one of them, a young woman in knight's armor, steps forward. Your methods of warfare, and your treatment of your allies goes entirely against our ideals, Paralictor. Commander Donald has already said to you everything that should be said. We've decided to follow the commander in his march on Dresden. So you have a choice. When I took this dialogue option, there's a choice to let, we just bow out of making a decision, and they will join Regill in that case. As you wish. It's difficult to tell from Regill's face whether he is disappointed or not. Well then, Commander. Let's proceed to the main question, then put an end to this exhausting conversation. We should discuss the cooperation between your forces and my own. We do share a common enemy and a common battlefield. You're looking at me strangely, Paralictor. When we discussed Yeager's punishment, and when we were deciding the fate of the Sunrise Sword, it's as if you're testing me. Regill lowers his head in a gesture that might be read as respectful. I do not believe I made any attempt to conceal my interest in you, both as a new strong leader in the region, and as the bearer of a highly unusual power. Of course I like to know what's inside your head. One could say that it's my duty. My army and I are going to Dresden to free the city from demons. You can join forces with us. Regill rubs his chin pensively. Dresden. An ambitious goal, but most reasonable. Imagine how such a victory would rally all the separate bands of today's Crusaders under one banner. And we certainly need a base of operations inside the World Wound. I stand ready to support you. Moreover, I can accompany you in your campaign. However, I would remind you that Hellknights are outside of Mendev's jurisdiction. My unit and I will join your forces and obey your orders, but only for as long as I deem that our goals coincide. Hell no, we don't do the likes of these black-armored statues. I don't want to fight side by side with someone who will slit my throat if I'm weak and wounded. You can't defeat one evil by inviting an equal, but slightly more organized evil into your ranks. Slightly more organized than the demons. I would consider that an insult. I never dealt with Hellknights before, but from what we've seen, they're serious fighters. That's just what we need. I think how that armor will look in the paintings they'll make about our battles. It's a deal. Yes, Commander. My forces and Regill de Renge are at your disposal. Alright, we got Regill in the party now. Alright, I'm gonna call it here. Next time we'll head back to camp, we'll speak to Regill, we'll resurrect Obrig, then we'll continue exploring the areas before we reach Leper's Smile. But for now, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.